The stars looked different through the viewing screen of the Discovery. Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge, watching as colors he had never seen before swirled past the ship. Something had gone wrong during their jump through space. The wormhole had pulled them off course, and now they were somewhere completely unknown. "Where are we?" asked Lieutenant Sam Cooper from his station. His hands moved quickly across the control panel, checking their location against Earth's star maps. "I don't know," Jake admitted. He had been exploring space for 15 years, but he had never seen anything like this. None of these stars match our records. The Discovery was humanity's newest exploration ship. It had left Earth 6 months ago to map new solar systems. The crew of 200 people had been excited about the mission. They were going to find new worlds, new resources, maybe even signs of alien life, but nobody expected to find alien life quite like this. "Captain, I'm picking up something on the sensors," said Lisa Grant, the ship's science officer. "Multiple ships approaching our position." "They're big, sir." "Much bigger than ours." Jake felt his heart beat faster. This was it. First contact with an alien species. He had dreamed about this moment since he was a child. "Open a communication channel. Let them know we come in peace." The alien ship surrounded the Discovery within minutes. They were beautiful in a strange way, with smooth curves and bright lights that seemed to flow across their hulls. The Discovery looked rough and basic next to them, like a tool compared to a work of art. A face appeared on the main screen. It had 4 eyes arranged in a square pattern and skin that looked like blue metal. "I am Commander Velthar of the Kryn Defense Force," the alien said. The words came through perfectly. Translated by technology Jake couldn't even imagine. "You have entered Council space without permission. Power down your weapons and prepare to be boarded." "We don't mean any harm," Jake said, raising his hands in what he hoped was a universal gesture of peace. "We're explorers from Earth. We got lost and ended up here by accident." Velthar's expression didn't change. "You will come with us to Harmony Point. The Council will decide what to do with you." The next few days were tense. The alien ships escorted the Discovery to a massive space station that floated between 3 stars. Harmony Point was bigger than any city on Earth, home to thousands of different species. The crew of the Discovery stared in wonder at creatures they had only imagined in stories. Jake and his senior officers were taken to meet the Galactic Council. The council chambers were enormous, with representatives from 12 different alien species sitting in a circle. They all looked at the humans with what Jake thought might be curiosity, or maybe suspicion. Ambassador Lisa Grant had been chosen to speak for humanity. She was smart and calm, the best person for the job. She stood in the center of the chamber and began to tell Earth's story. "We come from a world called Earth," Lisa said. "We're a young species just now reaching out to the stars. We want to learn from you, to join the galactic community, to make friends among the stars." A tall alien with 3 eyes stood up. "I am High Scholar Kren of the Zornathi. Tell us about your history, Ambassador. How did your species develop? What kind of civilization have you built?" Lisa took a deep breath. She knew this would be hard to explain. "We have not always been united. Our history has been difficult. We fought many wars before we learned to work together." "How many wars?" Kren asked. Lisa hesitated. She could feel every eye in the chamber on her. "We stopped counting at 10,000 major conflicts. That was just what we have written records of. There were probably more before we learned to write." The chamber fell completely silent. Jake watched as the alien representatives looked at each other with what seemed like shock and horror. One of them, a small creature that looked like it was made of crystal, actually backed away from the humans. 10,000 wars?" Velthar said slowly. "Your species fought 10,000 wars and survived?" Barrett. 3 years had passed since the Discovery returned to Earth with its warning. 3 years of preparation, building, and training. The Galactic Council believed humanity would stay quiet in their corner of space, locked away like dangerous animals. They were wrong. Admiral Peter Hayes stood in the command center of the Defiance, humanity's first true warship. Through the massive viewing window, he could see dozens of other ships forming up around him. Earth had not wasted a single day since learning about the Council. Every resource, every factory, every brilliant mind had been turned toward one goal: survival. The Defiance was nothing like the Discovery. Where the exploration ship had been sleek and efficient, the Defiance was a fortress that could move through space. Its hull was 3 meters thick in places, designed to take hits from weapons humanity didn't even fully understand yet. The ship carried enough missiles to level a moon and railguns that could punch holes through asteroids. Fleet status report, Peter said to his second-in-command. Vice Admiral Karen Foster looked up from her display. 87 ships ready for deployment, sir. Another 200 in various stages of construction. The Mars shipyards are running 3 shifts 24 hours a day. We're building ships faster than we ever thought possible. Peter nodded. It still wasn't enough. According to the data Lisa Grant had stolen from the Council, they had over 15,000 ships spread across hundreds of systems. Humanity had less than 100, but humanity had one advantage: they knew how to fight when outnumbered. How are the new recruits doing? Peter asked. Better than expected, Karen replied. We've had over 2 million volunteers for the Earth Defense Force. We're training them using every military technique from the past 1,000 years. The Council fights with precision and minimal casualties. We're teaching our people to fight total war. Total war. The phrase made Peter uncomfortable, but he knew it was necessary. The Council species had lived in peace for so long they had forgotten what real war looked like. Humanity had never forgotten. Every war Earth had ever fought, every terrible lesson learned in blood and fire, was being taught to a new generation of warriors. On the other side of the galaxy, the Galactic Council was starting to realize their mistake. Intelligence Director Thelmar stood before the Council chambers, his tentacles waving nervously as he presented his report. The humans have been very busy, he said. We placed monitoring satellites near their system to ensure they obeyed the quarantine. The satellites are gone. Destroyed or disabled, we're not sure which. Perhaps they malfunctioned, suggested one of the Council members. All 47 of them? Thelmar replied. No, the humans found them and eliminated them. And that's not all. Our deep space probes have detected human ships in 17 different systems. They're colonizing new worlds at an incredible rate. The crystal being from before made a sound like breaking glass. 17 systems in 3 years? That's impossible. It takes decades to properly colonize a world. Not for humans, Thelmar said grimly. He activated a holographic display showing images of human colonies. They don't wait for perfect conditions. They land on worlds we would consider uninhabitable and simply adapt. Thin atmosphere? They wear breathing equipment. Extreme temperatures? They build insulated habitats. Dangerous wildlife? They hunt it to extinction. They're the most aggressively expansionist species we've ever encountered. High Scholar Kren leaned forward. What about their military? How many ships do they have? Our estimates suggest at least 100 combat vessels, with more being built every day. But it's not just the numbers that concern me. It's the design philosophy. Thelmar showed images of human warships. Look at these vessels. Every system has multiple backups. They can lose half their ship and keep fighting. They carry enough ammunition for extended campaigns, and their weapons. They've taken our technology and somehow made it more destructive. Commander Velthar studied the images carefully. They've learned from us. From the data that Ambassador Grant stole, they know our tactics, our weaknesses. Yes, Thelmar confirmed. And they're preparing for war. Every human colony is fortified. Every civilian ship can be converted to military use within days. Their entire civilization has become a war machine. The Council argued for hours. Some wanted to negotiate, to give humanity another chance at peace. Others insisted that the threat must be eliminated before it grew stronger. In the end, fear won. The Council voted to declare war on humanity. Fleet Marshal Quindara of the Sethrian species was given command of the operation. She was a legend among the Council forces, a commander who had won 30 campaigns without a single defeat. As she prepared for the operation, she spent days studying everything the Council knew about humanity. What she learned disturbed her deeply. They honor their dead, she told her senior officers during a strategy meeting. Every culture on Earth, throughout all their history, has traditions for remembering those who died in battle. They build monuments, they tell stories, they pass down the names of their heroes to their children. Do you understand what this means? Her officers looked confused. One of them, a young Kryn named Selkor, spoke up. It means they value their soldiers? No, Quindar said. It means they expect soldiers to die. They've built an entire cultural framework around death in battle. They don't just accept casualties, they glorify sacrifice. We fight to minimize losses. They fight expecting to die, and that makes them incredibly dangerous. She pulled up human military history, focusing on some of their most famous battles. Look at this. The Battle of Thermopylae. 300 humans held off an army of thousands until every single one of them was dead. They knew they would die and they fought anyway. Or this, the siege of Stalingrad. Millions died, but neither side would surrender. The humans literally fought over every building, every street, every room. The officers stared at the images in horror. This kind of warfare was completely alien to them. The council fought with precision strikes and strategic retreats. Humans seemed to prefer grinding, brutal combat that ended only when one side was completely destroyed. "How do we fight an enemy like this?" Selkor asked quietly. Quindara was silent for a long moment. "We hit them hard and fast. We bring overwhelming force. We show them that resistance is futile and hope they surrender before the casualties become too high." The council assembled the largest fleet in their history. 15,000 ships from 12 different species, all converging on human space. It was enough firepower to crack planets and sterilize solar systems. Surely, Quindara thought, the humans would see reason when faced with such power. Back on Earth, Admiral Peter Hayes received reports of the Council fleet's movements. He called a meeting of Earth's military leadership and political officials. "They're coming," he said simply. 15,000 ships. They'll be here within the month." President Raymond Clark, Earth's leader, looked around the room at the assembled officers. "Can we win?" "No," Peter said honestly. "Not in a straight fight. They outnumber us over 100 to 1. But we don't need to win. We just need to make them wish they'd never started this fight." Karen Foster pulled up a tactical display. "We're not going to defend. We're going to attack. We'll meet them at Titan's Gate, the edge of our territory. We'll hit them with everything we have and show them what human warfare really looks like." "They'll destroy us," one of the other officers said. The battle was over. The Korvaxi fleet was destroyed. Now came the next challenge. Commander Daniel Hayes stood in the operations center and looked at his team. They had won the battle perfectly. Not a single human casualty. Not one damaged defense platform. But winning a battle and winning a war were different things. Captain Lisa Morgan brought Hayes a data pad with the battle statistics. "Complete victory," she said. "Every Korvaxi ship destroyed. Our weapons performed better than expected." Hayes took the pad but did not look at it. He was thinking about what came next. The Korvaxi Empire controls 47 star systems. They have colonies on hundreds of planets. When they learn their invasion fleet disappeared, they will send another fleet, probably bigger. Morgan nodded. She had been thinking the same thing. "We need to control the narrative. We need to tell our story before someone else tells it for us." That was the problem. Earth had just destroyed 3,000 warships in less than 5 minutes. The galaxy would hear about this. But what would they hear? Would they hear that Earth defended itself against invasion? Or would they hear that humans were dangerous killers who destroyed an entire fleet? Major Eric Stone was working with the communications team. They were preparing a message that would be broadcast to every inhabited star system within 50 light years. The message needed to be careful. It needed to be clear. It needed to show strength without looking threatening. "We should include the full sensor recordings," Stone suggested. "Show them exactly what happened. Let them see that the Korvaxi came to invade us. Let them see that we only defended ourselves." Hayes agreed. "Add the tactical analysis too. Show them how we won. We want the galaxy to understand that Earth has power. Real power. But we only use it when threatened." Lieutenant Jake Phillips was monitoring communications channels. Already, Earth was receiving messages from other species. Some were asking questions. Some were offering congratulations. Some were making threats. And some were asking for help. "Sir, we have received over 300 messages in the last hour," Phillips reported. "Some species are afraid of us now. Others want to be our allies. And several species currently under Korvaxi control are asking if we can help them gain independence." This was the difficult part. Earth had proven it could fight. Now Earth needed to show it could think. The galaxy was complex. Every action would have consequences. Every choice would create ripples. Hayes called a strategy meeting with his senior officers. They needed to make decisions about Earth's future role in galactic affairs. "The Korvaxi Empire is going to respond," Hayes said to the group. "The question is how we want to shape that response. Do we wait for them to come to us again? Do we take the fight to them? Or do we try to negotiate?" Colonel Ryan Bennett spoke up. "If we do nothing, we look weak. The galaxy will think we got lucky once. But if we attack them first, we look like aggressors. We become the thing we just fought against." Captain Kevin Shaw joined the meeting by video link from the moon. We should use our victory to build alliances. Show other species that aligning with Earth means protection. Give them an alternative to either serving the Korvaxi or fighting alone. Morgan agreed with this approach. We offer a simple deal. Respect our sovereignty and we respect yours. Trade fairly with us and we trade fairly with you. But threaten us or our allies and you see what happens. It was a good strategy, simple, clear, easy for other species to understand. Earth was not looking to conquer anyone, but Earth would not be conquered either. The message was finished 3 hours after the battle ended. It included full recordings of the Korvaxi attack. It showed the Korvaxi ultimatum demanding surrender. It showed the battle from multiple angles. The message made one thing very clear. Earth did not start this fight, but Earth finished it decisively. The second part of the message was an offer. Earth was willing to establish diplomatic relations with any species that approached peacefully. Earth was interested in trade, cultural exchange, and mutual defense agreements. Earth wanted friends, not subjects. The message was broadcast across dozens of star systems. Within hours, it was being discussed on thousands of worlds. Some species were impressed. Some were afraid. Some were hopeful. The message was exactly what Hayes wanted. It made Earth look strong but reasonable. Lieutenant Amy Carter compiled the initial responses from other civilizations. We are getting positive responses from species that have maintained independence from the major empires. The Viridian Collective wants to open formal communications. The Halcyon Federation is interested in trade talks. The Zephyr communes are asking about defensive technology sharing. This was good news. These were respected civilizations that had stayed neutral in galactic conflicts. If Earth could build relationships with them, it would legitimize humanity's position. But there was other news too. Less positive news. The Korvaxi homeworld has gone silent, Phillips reported. No official communications. But we are picking up increased military chatter. They are pulling ships from garrison duty across their empire. It looks like they are preparing a response. Hayes had expected this. No empire would accept the destruction of an entire invasion fleet without reacting. The Korvaxi would come again. The question was when and with how many ships. Start preparing for round 2, Hayes ordered. But this time we need to think about the aftermath. If we destroy another Korvaxi fleet, their empire might collapse completely. That could create a power vacuum. Pirates, warlords, and other empires might move in to grab Korvaxi territory. That could mean chaos for dozens of star systems. This was the problem with being powerful. Actions had consequences. Earth could destroy fleets easily. But destruction was simple compared to building something stable afterward. Morgan was thinking about the bigger picture. We should send diplomatic missions to key civilizations. Show them that humans are not just warriors. Show them we can talk as well as fight, Hayes agreed. Lisa, you will lead the first diplomatic mission. Take a small team to the Viridian Collective. They are the most influential neutral power. If we can establish good relations with them, other species will follow. Morgan accepted the assignment. She knew it would be challenging. She would be representing all of humanity to alien civilizations. She would be showing the galaxy what humans were really like. It was a huge responsibility. Over the next 3 weeks, the effects of Earth's victory spread across the galaxy. The Korvaxi Empire was in chaos. 5 of their subject species openly rebelled. They had seen what happened to the invasion fleet. They understood that the Korvaxi military was not invincible. If humans could defeat the Korvaxi, maybe they could too. Trade routes that had been controlled by Korvaxi warships for decades suddenly saw independent merchant ships operating freely. Pirates who had avoided Korvaxi space became bolder. The rigid order the Empire had imposed was breaking down. Stone monitored these developments carefully. The Korvaxi Empire is fracturing faster than we anticipated. Their subject species see weakness now. Some are asking us for military support against their Korvaxi occupiers. This was a trap Earth needed to avoid. If humans started liberating Korvaxi colonies, they would become the new occupiers. The liberated species would trade one master for another. Earth would become the thing it fought against. We offer moral support and diplomatic recognition, Hayes decided, but we do not send troops. These species need to free themselves. We can give them hope and inspiration, but not soldiers. If they win freedom because we gave it to them, they did not really win freedom. It was a hard decision. Earth had the power to free dozens of oppressed civilizations. But power had to be used wisely. Sometimes the best use of power was choosing not to use it. Captain Lisa Morgan prepared for her diplomatic mission. She studied Viridian culture. She learned their customs. She practiced their greetings. When she finally boarded the ship that would take her to the Viridian homeworld, she felt ready but nervous. She would be the first human most of these aliens had ever seen. She needed to make a good impression. Captain Lisa Morgan stood before the Viridian Council. The council chamber was enormous, designed for beings much larger than humans. The Viridians themselves were tall and covered in crystalline scales that reflected light in rainbow patterns. They were beautiful and intimidating at the same time. Morgan wore her dress uniform. She stood straight and calm even though she was nervous. She was the first human these beings had ever met in person. Everything she did and said would shape how they viewed all of humanity. The council speaker addressed her in translated speech. The translation device made the alien words sound smooth and formal. Captain Morgan of Earth, you come from a species that destroyed 3,000 warships in minutes. You claim to come in peace. Why should we believe you? Morgan had prepared for this question, because we could have kept our power secret. We could have hidden what we did. Instead, we broadcast the recordings to everyone. We showed you our weapons. We showed you our capabilities. Why would we do that if we planned to conquer you? Conquerors rely on surprise. We chose transparency. The Viridians consulted among themselves in their own language. Morgan waited patiently. She knew this was a test. They wanted to see if she would get nervous or impatient. She remained calm. Finally, the speaker addressed her again. Your logic is sound, but power corrupts. Today you seek friendship. Tomorrow you might seek dominion. How can we trust that Earth will remain peaceful as it becomes more powerful? Morgan nodded. This was the real question. We cannot give you absolute certainty, but we can point to our history. Humans have fought each other for thousands of years. We learned hard lessons about war and peace. We learned that conquest creates resentment. We learned that the strongest empires eventually fall. We do not want to build an empire. We want to build partnerships, she continued. Earth offers a simple relationship. We respect your sovereignty completely. We do not tell you how to govern yourselves. We do not demand tribute or military service. What we offer is mutual defense. If someone attacks you, we consider it an attack on us. If someone attacks us, we hope you would stand with us. But the choice is always yours. Another council member spoke. This one had darker scales and a deeper voice. What do you want from us in return for this protection? Friendship, Morgan answered simply. Trade on fair terms. Cultural exchange. Scientific cooperation where our interests align. We want to learn from you and share what we know, but we will never force you to give us anything. The Viridians discussed this for several minutes. Morgan noticed that they seemed genuinely interested. They were not dismissing her out of hand. They were taking the offer seriously. Back on Earth, Commander Daniel Hayes was dealing with a different problem. Intelligence had confirmed that the Korvaxi were assembling another fleet. This one was much larger than the first. 7,000 warships. It was almost every military vessel the Korvaxi Empire had available. Major Eric Stone showed Hayes the tracking data. They are pulling ships from everywhere. Colony defense forces, border patrols, garrison units. They are committing everything to this attack. Hayes studied the fleet composition. They learned some lessons from the first battle. Look at their formation. They are much more spread out now. They modified their shield frequencies. They are taking us seriously. Lieutenant Jake Phillips added more information. Analysis suggests they think they have figured out our quantum disruptors. They believe the modified shields will protect them. Hayes smiled slightly. Let them believe that. Confidence makes people careless. What is their estimated arrival time? 6 weeks, Stone answered. They are moving slower than the first fleet. More cautious. 6 weeks gave Earth time to prepare, but it also gave Earth time to think about what came after the battle. Destroying 7,000 ships would effectively destroy the Korvaxi Empire as a military power. The power vacuum would be enormous. Colonel Ryan Bennett joined the strategy meeting. We need to think about the day after we win. If the Korvaxi Empire collapses completely, dozens of their subject species will declare independence. Some will fight each other over territory. Pirates and warlords will move in. It could be chaos for years. Hayes nodded. This was the problem with overwhelming power. Winning battles was easy. Building stable peace afterward was much harder. We need allies before the second battle happens, Hayes decided. We need other species that can help maintain order after the Korvaxi fall. Species with moral authority and diplomatic experience. That was why Morgan's mission to the Viridians was so important. The Viridian Collective was respected throughout the galaxy. They had stayed neutral in most conflicts. If they aligned with Earth, other neutral species might follow. Lieutenant Amy Carter brought news from the communications department. We have received formal diplomatic requests from 17 species. 8 of them are currently part of the Korvaxi Empire. They want to know if we will recognize their independence. This was a delicate situation. If Earth recognized their independence now, before the second battle, it would be seen as an act of war against the Korvaxi. But if Earth waited, these species might think humans did not really care about freedom. Tell them we support their right to self-determination, Hayes said carefully. We recognize their inherent independence as sentient beings, but we cannot provide military support until they take concrete steps to free themselves. We will not fight their revolution for them. It was a diplomatic answer that said everything and nothing. It gave the rebelling species moral support without committing Earth to military action. On the Viridian homeworld, Morgan received an answer from the Council. The speaker addressed her formally. We have decided to establish diplomatic relations with Earth. We will exchange ambassadors. We will explore trade opportunities. But we are not ready to commit to a mutual defense agreement. We need to see how Earth handles its conflict with the Korvaxi before we make such a commitment. Morgan accepted this. It was not everything Earth wanted, but it was a good start. We understand your caution. We hope that our actions will prove our good intentions over time. The speaker smiled, which looked strange on an alien face covered in crystalline scales. We hope so too, Captain Morgan. The galaxy needs a powerful species that uses power wisely. We have had too many bullies for too long. Morgan returned to Earth 3 weeks after leaving. She reported directly to Hayes about her mission. The Viridians are interested but cautious. They want to see how we handle the second Korvaxi attack. If we show restraint and wisdom, they will likely agree to a formal alliance, Hayes understood. So we need to win the next battle without looking like monsters. We need to show power and mercy at the same time. That will be difficult, Morgan agreed. We could destroy the second fleet as easily as we destroyed the first. But that would make us look like killers. We need a different approach. Stone had an idea. What if we disable their ships instead of destroying them? Show them we can win without slaughtering everyone? Force them to surrender rather than fight to the death? It was risky. Disabled ships could potentially repair themselves and fight again. But it would send a powerful message to the galaxy. Earth was strong enough to show mercy. Hayes thought about it carefully. We will disable their command ships and force the fleet to surrender. But if they refuse or continue fighting, we destroy them completely. We offer mercy once, only once. The team agreed this was the best approach. Now they had to plan how to execute it. The second battle would be much more complex than the first. But if they succeeded, Earth would establish itself as a power that could be feared and respected. The dropships fell through the atmosphere of Kelthera Prime like metal rain. Colonel Blake sat in the lead ship with his Marines. Through the windows he could see the capital city growing larger as they descended. Massive buildings reached toward the sky. Streets formed complex patterns between them. Millions of Zinthara lived down there watching the human ships land. The ships touched down in the palace courtyard. Marines poured out, weapons ready, scanning for threats. But there was no resistance. Zinthara soldiers stood at attention with their weapons on the ground. They had been ordered to surrender, and they were following orders. Blake led his team into the palace. The corridors were huge, built for beings much taller than humans. Everything was decorated with expensive materials: crystal, rare metals, jewels. This was the home of an empress who had ruled an empire. But today it was just a building that humanity had conquered. They found Calithra in the throne room. She stood in front of her obsidian throne, no longer sitting on it. She wore simple robes instead of her royal clothing. Her crown sat on the throne behind her. She looked smaller somehow. Defeated, Blake approached her with 2 other Marines. He stated that she was under arrest by order of the United Earth Fleet. She would be transported to a neutral station for trial. She had the right to legal representation. She would be treated according to the laws of war. Calithra said nothing. She simply extended her hands. Blake placed restraints on her wrists. They were designed for Zinthara physiology, larger than human restraints. Then Marines escorted her from the throne room. She walked with her head up, maintaining some dignity even in defeat. As they left the palace, thousands of Zinthara watched. Some were crying, some were angry, some seemed relieved. The Empress was gone. The old empire was over. What came next, no one knew. On the Resolution, Admiral Carter received confirmation that the Empress was in custody. He broadcast a message to all ships in the fleet. Operation Starbreaker was complete. The mission was successful. The Zinthara Empire had surrendered. Justice for New Hope would be served. Across the fleet, crews celebrated. They had done the impossible. They had defeated an empire that had ruled for 3,000 years. They had shown the galaxy that humanity would not be victims anymore. The cheering could be heard through the corridors of every ship. But Carter did not celebrate. He stood on the bridge of his ship and looked at the planet below. Yes, they had won. Yes, justice would be done, but the cost was real. Human ships had been lost. Good people had died. And now humanity had the responsibility of helping rebuild what they had broken. Captain Grant brought the Valiant back into standard orbit. Her crew was tired but satisfied. They had fought well. Her ship had taken damage, but nothing that could not be repaired. She thought about the families on New Hope. At least now they had justice. At least now the people who killed their loved ones would answer for it. The trial of Empress Calithra took place 3 months later on a neutral station called Unity Point. Representatives from dozens of species attended. The station was built specifically for diplomatic meetings, floating in space between different territories. It belonged to no one empire, making it perfect for this purpose. The courtroom was huge, designed to accommodate different species. Calithra sat in a secure box designed for the accused. Around her, judges from multiple species sat at a raised platform, lawyers argued. Evidence was presented. Recordings from New Hope showed the attack, showed the destruction, showed the bodies. Calithra's defense argued that she had not directly ordered the attack, that it was a mistake by lower-ranking officers, that she should not be held responsible. But the prosecution showed communication logs, orders with her signature, proof that she had known about the raid and approved it. The trial lasted 2 weeks. Species from across the galaxy watched on their view screens. This was unprecedented, an empress of a major empire standing trial for war crimes. If she could be held accountable, then anyone could. It changed how the galaxy thought about justice. The verdict came on a quiet morning. The judges found Calithra guilty of war crimes, guilty of ordering an attack on civilians, guilty of crimes against sentient beings. The sentence was exile. She would be stripped of all titles and authority. She would live out her days on a remote colony world, forbidden from ever returning to Zinthara space. Some people thought the sentence was too light, that she should be executed. But others argued that exile was worse than death for someone like Calithra. She would live knowing she had lost everything, that her empire had fallen. That history would remember her as the empress who underestimated humanity. The Zinthara Empire underwent massive changes. A provisional government was established, elected by the people instead of ruled by hereditary power. Human advisors helped write new laws, laws that protected civilians, laws that prevented aggressive wars, laws that made it harder for one person to have absolute power. It was not easy. Many Zinthara resented human involvement. They saw it as occupation, not assistance. There were protests, small rebellions. But over time, most people accepted the new order. The old empire had brought them to the edge of destruction. The new government offered something different, something better. Trade agreements were signed between humanity and the new Zinthara government. Human engineers helped rebuild the ships and stations damaged in the battle. Zinthara scientists shared technology with human researchers. Former enemies began working together. Admiral Carter retired from military service a year after the battle. He returned to Earth and wrote a book about the campaign. In it, he explained that victory came not from superior technology or greater courage. It came from preparation, from unity, from the willingness to do whatever was necessary to protect their own. Captain Grant was promoted to admiral and given command of a new fleet. This fleet would patrol the borders of human space, making sure no other empire made the same mistake the Zinthara had made. She took the job seriously. New Hope would never be forgotten. Its memorial would stand as a reminder of what happened when humanity was pushed too far. Colonel Blake continued training Marines. The next generation of soldiers learned from his experience. They studied the battle for Calthera Prime. They learned about combined arms tactics, about boarding actions, about fighting in environments designed for aliens. Blake made sure they were ready, hoping they would never need to use those skills. On Earth, President Morrison was re-elected. In her victory speech, she talked about the new age humanity had entered. They were no longer a minor species hiding in their own territory. They were a major power, a force that the galaxy respected and sometimes feared. But she cautioned that power came with responsibility. Morrison said that humanity should use their strength wisely, that they should help other species, that they should promote peace and justice, that they should never become like the Zinthara, using power to bully and destroy. The galaxy was watching. Humanity needed to show them what it meant to be truly civilized. In the years that followed, humanity grew. More colonies were established. More ships were built. Alliances were formed with other species. The story of the 3,000 warships became legend. Young people heard the tale and dreamed of serving in the fleet, of defending humanity, of standing up to tyrants. Other empires took notice. Species that had considered attacking human territory changed their minds. Species that had dismissed humans as primitives revised their assessments. The balance of power in the galaxy had permanently shifted, and on a small colony world at the edge of explored space, a former empress named Calithra lived in a simple apartment. She had one room and basic furnishings. No servants. No luxury, no power. She spent her days alone, thinking about the choices she had made. Sometimes she looked up at the night sky. She wondered what was happening in the empire she once ruled. She wondered if anyone remembered her except as a warning. She thought about the day 3,000 human warships appeared over her world. The day her rage and pride brought everything crashing down. Calithra had learned the hardest lesson in the galaxy. Never underestimate humanity. They might seem weak. They might seem divided. They might seem like easy targets. But when you hurt them, when you kill their people, when you push them too far, they respond with a fury that can shake empires. The galaxy had learned that lesson too. Humanity was here to stay. They were strong. They were united. And they would never again allow themselves to be victims. 3,000 warships had proven that. And the memory of that day would echo through history for generations to come.